Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Jeff Klein's Speakers Sitting in Chairs, Chatting on Air. My guest today is Trish, and Trish is the Destiny Detective. How are you today, Trish?
I'm great, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me. It was a great opportunity, and you've given me lots of opportunities in the short time we've known each other.
That's great. Now, how did you hear about what I was doing? I know we connected that way. You reached out to me.
Actually, another person that goes to your speaker co-op group that you have on Fridays down at Sherlock's usually, although there's some construction going there, invited me to one of your speaker co-ops, and I've been a few times and actually gotten a few speaker gigs from going. So I'm doing pretty good so far, and I appreciate
All
you
right.
for that.
Who was that?
Oh, I'm sorry, Beverly Beal.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, the
Okay.
intuitive,
hmm
interior intuitive.
So we got the Interior Intuitive and the Destiny Detective,
Right.
and sounds like the beginning of a superhero movie.
We're part of a mastermind, so we do a bunch of stuff together. Yep.
There you go. There you go. What? So tell us how you started speaking. What led you, Trish, to speaking?
Well, it's just really been kind of funny because I hadn't done a lot of speaking. Beverly invited me to one of her gigs, and that was really the first big speaking that I did, and that was last February. Twice the people showed up, and they said I was one of the best speakers there, and a third of the people got one of my sessions that I do where I help people simply looking at people's fingerprints. I can see their life purpose.
Oh, wonderful. Are you on a laptop or a desktop,
I
Trish?
am on a laptop right now.
Okay. Pull the screen towards you a little bit because your
Sure.
name
Is that
your
good?
name banner is covering up your face.
Gotcha. Is that good there?
Well, it froze for a second. There you go.
There you go. So, okay, I got it there.
Yeah, I'm always having to tweak mine as well. Um, when I set up my office, I planned that I would be doing video stuff, so I wanted to make sure the background was pleasing or.
Right. No,
Uh,
luckily I've done some other videos and things like that, so I knew that piece of the puzzle. So speaking is kind of new for me. I came from a corporate America background. I was a Fortune 100 executive, and so now people think I'm into fortune telling, and it's not quite like fortune telling. It's a little bit more grounded than that, but I do dabble in some of that arena.
well, right, and I know everything you're doing is based in science as opposed to as woo-woo as it sounds
Right,
sometimes.
right. There's woo-woo in it, but it really,
Sure.
my undergrad is biology, and my master's is in a cross between counseling and an MBA, sorry. And so I really do try to take a more practical, grounded approach to this.
So instead of telling us how you do what you do, why don't you tell us what happens after somebody is, or what during and after somebody works with you? What kind of changes does your information help them with?
My information helps them in three basic areas. I help them figure out what their life purpose is according to the soul plan and the life that they planned before they were born. And then I help them with timing issues, which I'd like to give some people some tricks on that today so they can see what they should and should not do in the upcoming year. And then I'm also really good at understanding the purpose of a given relationship between two people or more. So those are the three areas that I specifically help people with.
Okay, got it. Uh, how did you go from corporate to what you're doing now?
Well,
What
that's
was
a
that?
good question. Yeah. Over 20 years ago, on a lark, I happened to go to a psychic for my birthday, and I was like, how the heck does this woman know so much about me? And it was just entertainment for me. And over the course of the year, a bunch of stuff came very true that was odd and left field kind of thing. She predicted my job changing in a corporate environment, and that it would happen in the month of October, and that I would be working for a black man with a woman with red hair, and all those things came true. So I was like, that's very weird. So I really was a skeptic, and I went off to try to disprove everything, and as I got into it, I was like, okay, this is really kind of freaky. It works. And then I ended up placing high-level engineers and project managers within that corporate environment, and when you hire somebody, you get their birthday, and I was able to increase gross profits by 203% and headcount by 400%, and the owner of the company flew in. He's like, okay, what are you doing? We want to duplicate this across all the other branches. And I explained to him it was numerology was the main thing I was using at that time. He's like, well, just keep doing what you're doing. You know, we don't know how to really implement that. Now I would know how to do that, but you know, so that was kind of the start as I got into doing it in a business environment.
Got it. Well, and you know, a lot of people don't even realize this, but numerology goes back a long ways. There's a Jewish version of numerology. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I am. I studied with a Jewish rabbi when I was off kicking the tires on all the different forms, as a matter of fact. That is a little bit different, where they look at the Kabbalah and they count the number of words and names and things like that. And as you probably know, the number 7 is very special. So it's very fascinating. I use the Pythagorean system, which comes from like the Pythagoras, who did the Pythagorean triangle and hypothesis and all that, 2,000 years ago or so. So it's a slightly different methodology.
Okay. Well, yeah, and what a lot of what happens with the Jewish numerology, it's about what the words mean as opposed to what the person, you know, as opposed to dictating behavior. It's more about how beautiful and esoteric the Hebrew language is, and connecting words. You know, there are words that add up to 613, which is how many laws there are in the Torah and things like that.
Right. Numbers have a very special meaning. I mean, they're very powerful, and there's a vibration to all numbers, and basically 1 through 9 and of course 0 are the main numbers. Everything will reduce down to that when you add those up, and each number has a specific vibration that I'm reading the archetype, the symbolism behind that number, and the letters in our alphabet also have numeric value. A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, etc. So, and I just add up numbers. So that's the basic thing I do, and then depending upon where the number falls tells me a story.
Now, let me ask you this. If we didn't have 10 fingers and 10 toes, would everything we do be based on 10?
Oh, that's a good esoteric question.
Well, it makes me think, Trish, I don't, you know, if you remember Schoolhouse Rock and all that stuff,
right.
there was Mr. 12 Toes or something like that, where it was an alien comes down and teaches how everything would be if it was base 12 instead of base 10.
Right.
Or it might have been 9 or 8. But it was a different number from 10, and I just thought about that.
Well, it's very.
While we were talking.
That's very curious, because in numerology, I need to know where that person was born, per se, and if they were born in a country that does not have the 26-letter alphabet that we use here in the States, then I'd use a different numbering system. So, yes, things would completely change if you had different, you know, rather than 10 fingers, you had however many fingers. And it's based upon the origination of wherever you're born. You use that system.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
It's sort of a random thought there, but that's okay. That's what this podcast includes: random thoughts.
Right.
We go down rabbit trails and all that other good stuff. So, you know,
there are other little things that I need to know, whether they were adopted in the first year of their birth or later. So, because I believe that if they're adopted in that first year, I go by the adoptive name instead of their birth name to calculate different information. So.
Okay. Now, of course, I have 2 names. I have my English name, and I have a Hebrew name that I was
Correct.
given when I was 8 days old.
And
So
we would go to. Oh, you were given the Hebrew name when you were 8 days old.
that's, well, when you get circumcised is when you get your name.
Right. You would go and look up each letter and the position in your alphabet and do the calculation from there.
There's also a corresponding Bible verse or Torah verse based on your name without having to do with the numbers. And I'm not sure where that comes from, but you can. There's a list where you can go look up your Hebrew name and find out where to go in the Torah to read whatever the verse is that has something to do with
cool.
your name.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. So that's always. So of course, my Hebrew name is Joseph. So, you know,
Gotcha.
that's one of the big ones.
I was thinking. When you were saying your Hebrew name, I used to have a sewing machine that I embroidered somebody's Hebrew name on. He blew the horn at the beginning of the new year every year. So
Sure.
he had the letters there, so we had to scan those in and do all that. So all that's very fascinating to me, the letters and the numbers and stuff. So
yeah, well, and they make it if you learn it like I did in Hebrew school in America, that doesn't let you really communicate in Hebrew when you go to Israel.
Right, probably not.
You can't. Bill, the Hebrew I learned has little the definition of jots and tittles is from another Jewish thing, but the vowels themselves are dots and dashes around the words, around the letters.
Right.
And the Hebrew newspapers in Israel and a lot of stuff like that doesn't have any of the vowels.
Right.
So, and then when they write it out in script, it's similar to somebody who knows about Chinese and Japanese, where they have the printed artwork version of their words and letters, and then they have the way people write it.
Right. There's there's a fascinating book called The Science of Numerology by I want to say her last name is Lawrence Blackwell, if I recall correctly, and it actually goes through the history of the letters over time from Alpha and Beta and all the way back to the original. That's cool. And how that ties into numerology and the sound of each sound of the letter. So that is important. So.
Yeah, because the first two letters of the Hebrew alphabet are A and B, are Aleph and Bet, which obviously went through Aramaic to Hebrew to Greek to Roman to English.
Exactly. Yeah.
And some of that stuff lasted most of that time.
Yeah. So but that's more advanced numerology for everybody. So I think they probably want some basic kind of stuff, some basic tips.
Now, what were the things you wanted to mention? You wanted to teach us about.
Okay. Yeah. The main thing I really wanted to mention was there's a calculation that you can do really easily on your birthday that will help you understand what you should do and what your do's and don'ts for a given year. And so basically what you do is take your month of birth, your day of birth, and the current year. Like right now we're in 2014, and so if, say, your birthday was October 26th, you added up October, 1 plus 0 reduces down to 1, and 26, 2 plus 6 reduces down to 8. And then when you take 2014, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4 reduces down to 7. And then when you add all of those numbers up, that equals 16, and then 1 plus 6 equals 7. If somebody were to go to my website, destinydetective.com, and enter their email address, they'll get a little worksheet that explains all that I just said, that went over almost everybody's head probably. So, and what they can do is just do that little worksheet, and then below that, it will go to what all their do's and don'ts are for each given type of year. Like in a 1 year, it's new beginnings, and you're supposed to plant seeds and start things. And then in a 2 year, you're waiting for the roots to grow, so people need to be a little bit more patient and wait for stuff to happen. Then in a 3 year, you're seeing that first growth of what you started a couple years ago. And then in a 4 year, you see, oh, I don't like that limb or whatever, let me prune this, and so you're tidying up your garden and getting organized. And then in a
Yeah, I'm
5,
in an 8-year.
yeah, you're in an 8-year. This is your money making.
It's supposed to be a good year for me, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so basically, that year started last October. You start to feel that energy come in, and you have until next March for that energy still to be at its optimum. And so you've got, what is that? About 5 more months yet to make that thing happen and ring that bell and get that money. It's the 8 is the harvest of this garden you've been metaphorical garden you've been tending for the past 8 years. And so then you go
now,
to.
Can I do the same thing with the? Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Can I do the same thing with the Hebrew calendar?
Since
we're in 50,
that gets more complicated.
57, yeah, 57, 40. I don't even remember now, but.
I don't know is the answer basically. So I do know when I go up. There's the other calendars I know that they're, I want to say in either South America or Africa or something, they use a different calendar system. So whatever calendar system that your native tongue, if you were born in the United States, you use the regular calendar that we use.
Okay.
That's the one that will be the most meaningful to you.
Okay. Good enough.
And then a little trick, if you put in your birth year instead of the current year, that'll tell you your energy for your whole life.
Got it. Well, I actually took a class a few years back about the Hebrew calendar. What's interesting, and a lot of people don't realize this, the Hebrew calendar is a lunar calendar. People know that. The Muslim calendar is also a lunar calendar.
Ah, okay, yeah.
But their biggest holiday, Ramadan, which is a whole month long, it moves, and it keeps moving. So it happens, at a different time every year. With the Hebrew calendar, we are lunar monthly, but solar annually, because we're taught that our spring holiday always has to be in the spring. So Passover is our spring holiday, and so every year we have a leap year. That's not like the Gregorian. It's leap year every 4 years. Add a day to make sure that it stays on track. With the Hebrew calendar, they add a month every so often. It's not. Right. I mean, it's all on paper, but it's not a regular time. It's sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 1, sometimes there's 2 leap years back to back.
Right.
In order to keep the months at the same place within the year.
Yeah, there's always juggling for that. And what a lot of people might not know is that the days of our week are actually named after the planets. So Sunday, Monday, the moon, etc. So they each, Saturday, Saturn. So they each have a place there.
Yep. And there's no Pluto because it's not a planet anymore. No, I'm just...
Yeah. right. I don't think you'd see Pluto at that time. So
no.
Yeah.
Well, if we're talking on that track, people may not know that the Roman calendar had 10 months, and most of the month names come from them. Like January is for Juno, which is the god with two or faces or 4 faces.
Right.
And then of course July and August were for Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar. They added those to make the year the right length.
Right.
To match up with the when they figured out that the sun went around the earth.
Yeah. To give some your audience a slightly different twist on this calendar thing, on another resource for them that they can get a little mini reading. If they go to a website called 7 Thunders, and it's the number 7, 7thunders.com. The deck of playing cards, 52 playing cards, is based upon the calendar, and so there are 52 cards in a deck and 52 weeks in a year, etc. 4 suits, 4 seasons, and from there you can enter in your birthday, and it will tell you what playing card is associated with your birthday, and that will also give you some symbolism, kind of like your astrology sun sign or whatever. So
that's cool.
Yeah, I'm a 4 of diamonds, so I like things of value and that are very practical oriented, is what that one means. So, and the numbers match up. The 1 through 9 or 1 through 10 match up to numerology, and then you have the 4 suits. The hearts are spring and relationships. The clubs are going off to school and knowledge, and the diamonds are for value and getting in your productive years and making money, and then the spades are your wisdom years.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So another little.
Well, and I want to make sure I point something out to the folks who are watching and listening. None of this contradicts any religion.
No, absolutely not. Yes.
Unless you want it to, but it doesn't. I mean,
yes.
However you worship a supreme being, whether you call him God or Allah or whatever, none of this kind of stuff about spirituality and connectivity and symbolism, none of it is negative or evil or tells people that God doesn't exist or any of that stuff. It's all a separate belief system or a separate thing or a separate science or a separate practice that doesn't replace or try to replace anybody's religion.
And that is a very good point that you brought up, Jeff, definitely. So, I was brought up Christian, but then being a biology major, then I had the Big Bang kind of thing. Then I got to numerology, and I was like, if anything, it gave me more faith that there is something, some God being up there that has a plan for us that works in conjunction with us. So, and it doesn't matter what religion or beliefs that you have. To me, it's very spiritual.
Yeah, and it's all about order as opposed to chaos, which
yes,
which is very comforting to us as human beings.
Yes, it gives me a lot of order. And what was very funny for me, I've been dating a CFP for the past 6 years, a certified financial planner, and when he met me, he did not believe in any of this stuff, and now he's off taking courses and finding order in this as well, and can see the valuable information there.
Well, he already believed in order as a numbers person.
Yes,
he just had to see that numbers had more power than he had been taught so far.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So for him, our month of birth tells us about our childhood. The day of birth tells us about our middle productive years, 30 to 50-ish, and then from 50 on, your year of birth tells you about that. So it's a very valuable tool for him, since he helps people with retirement, to see the direction that they're, that's best for them to move in. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we always talk about here on the chat show, Trish, is what have you been consuming media-wise lately? Like, what podcasts have you listened to? Any books you're reading, magazines, music, video, film, you name it. We want to know what Trish can recommend or tell people to stay away from.
Wow, that's a good question. It's a difference. It's not like public media out there. I am definitely a student of wisdom and like to learn different things. There's a woman by the name of Andrea Hess, and that's Andrrea and then Hess. There's been a lot of information that I've been learning from her. I've taken 4 different training classes where you can learn about a business entity as well using some of these different kinds of tools.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's been very interesting and powerful for me. I'm learning to be, how to do that for a business myself, and you can tell where somebody's weak in marketing and for speaking. This is an excellent place to say how should they speak? What's their audience? Should they do it in person? Should they do it to groups? Should they do it online? What's their natural strength of where they should be doing their speaking and networking kind of information? And that can be easily told looking at somebody's energy group. So I find that very fascinating.
What about for fun?
For fun right now, the boyfriend's just moved in. We're unpacking boxes and learning how to live with each other right now.
Any movies or radio or TV or music that you enjoy?
I love I love Scandal on TV.
Yeah.
I love Forever, just the guy that's the kind of mortician. I can't remember what you call him, but he lives forever. He's not like a vampire, but he goes off and
Immortal, yeah.
he investigates death. All that CSI kind of investigative stuff I really like. So,
Yeah.
the HGTV kind of stuff too. Improving your homes, because I come from.
Cool.
Yeah, so that, nothing probably very exciting for a lot of people.
Well, no, but that's just it. I mean, that's part of who Trish is that you like the procedurals.
A lot of it. There's a creative side, though. I mean, I definitely have a very strong creative side. I have a painter here today painting a antique piece of furniture, a color, and then we're going to sand it down and distress it and stuff. So.
Well, that's cool.
There's a strong creative side. The artwork on my site, Destiny Detective, I had all that artwork custom painted by somebody that I could show my symbolism through the artwork and stuff. And so I just told her, okay, I want a Lady Sherlock. Please go and paint this up. And she's all the artwork she custom painted for me.
Oh yeah, the artwork on your business card is wonderful.
Yeah, she is fabulous. Shauna
That's
Peterson
great.
Is her name.
Donna.
Shauna,
Shauna.
SHAUNNA, and then Peterson, PETERSON.com.
Great. Yeah,
Fabulous work.
Plug, sure.
Yeah.
Well, this weekend I had two very different movie experiences, Trish. I went and saw a big budget movie. Went and saw John Wick, which is a Keanu Reeves shoot 'em up. He had a little bit of acting and a lot of shooting and fighting and killing, and it was way too slow to get started, but it was still a fun ride overall because of all the action, as it were. And then yesterday, my mom's service organization, which is an organization called Altrusa, their fundraiser was a sing-along watching of Grease.
Okay.
And they put the words on the screen like in karaoke. So that was a lot of fun. Every so often, like one of the phrases, the sound will shut off and you can hear everybody in the audience singing along. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I haven't been to a movie in a theater, and I don't even know how long.
I don't go as much as I used to. I used to go weekly. Now I go. Yeah. Now I don't even go monthly anymore. Your lifestyle changes.
Right.
But,
right.
Still a big lover of TV and movies.
No, that's just another contention. I love to watch TV, but the new boyfriend doesn't like it as much, so it's not turned on. It's noise pollution to him, so we're finding those happy balances, and we need to go buy the wireless headphones so we can.
There you go.
I can escape and go back there, and he can have his peace and quiet.
Well, that'll work. Yeah, the good old Bluetooth, right?
Yep.
What is there anything that you wanted me to ask you about that I didn't ask you about, Trish?
No. I mean, that's about it. Again, I guess I would say, go to destiny.com and put in your email address there, and you will be able to do your do's and don'ts forevermore, because it'll tell you how to calculate it no matter what year you're in.
You mean destinydetective.com? Destiny Detective.
Did I say something else?
You said destiny.com.
Oh, I'm sorry, silly me. So, DestinyDetective.com, and then it's also curious to find out what your loved ones, what kind of year that they're having. So, if they're having a private kind of year that they want to be alone, you can give them a little bit more space, or help them with their career or whatever. And then you can also see what the lovey-dovey kind of years are too.
Well, that's good. That's probably good to know.
Yeah.
You waited for a lovey-dovey year to move in?
It happened that way. I was not planning this, but it was very weird. Had I been looking for myself on that, it would have shown up. It's kind of spooky that way. Yeah, this was not, we just kind of happened into this, and then lo and behold, yes, the numbers do match up. So.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So it works in both directions.
It does.
That's good to know.
It does. Well, thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate
You're welcome, Trish.
this opportunity.
Thanks, and everybody who's listening and watching, please join us again for Jeff Klein's Speakers Sitting in Chairs Chatting on Air. Thanks, Trish. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye-bye.